Okay, welcome to the Basement Finishing Blueprint. I am right here in front of my home computer in my basement, in my office where I do most of my recordings and also all the design work for my clients I do down here as well. And let's get right to it here. What I'm going to do is a quick screencast. I'm going to run through this as quick as I can. There's a lot of information here, so you might want to grab a piece of paper and a pen and take some notes if you'd like to. Some good stuff here. And let's get started. We're going to break this process down to building a basement. We're going to go in the chronological order that I do every job in. It's the way I've been doing it since 1992 for my clients. It works really, really well for me, and I have a lot of other friends in the business, and this works well for them as well. So this is the direction that you should be heading when you start your project and as you progress through it. You can see in the middle here we have a red block. This is going to be like a mind map, if you will. It says My Finished Basement. So we're going to click on that and spread that out. And what we have in front of us here are the 9 critical stages of a basement finishing project. These are the main phase categories, all right? And they are in the order that we will be going through them and in the order that you will be doing them during the project. We have the design stage, framing, mechanical, energy, drywall, painting, trim, accessories, and flooring. And we will be starting with the first stage, which is the design stage. And in the design stage we have 2 different areas. We have ideas and we have creating a working floor plan. Now, ideas come before creating a working floor plan because without your ideas firmly hashed out, you don't know which direction you're going to create the floor plan. So we need ideas. And I tell my clients, if you want ideas, go to magazines and the internet. Do an internet search. And I still do this same exact things for my clients when I'm working with them. They give me ideas of what they want, so I know where their creative juices are flowing, and then I will look through magazines and internet search. More so internet search. And if you're going to do an internet search, there are 2 ways to go about it. There's Google and there's Yahoo. Now, I do prefer Google over Yahoo. I just think it's a better search engine. And what you do is, and let me jump out here on the internet here quick, and I'll adjust my screen here for you so you can see what I'm doing up here. Let me see if I can drag that up there. There we go. Okay, so I pulled up Google on the internet here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the top bar and I'm going to click on Google Images. Alright, now you can see we're in Google Images. And in the address bar here, or the search bar here, I'm going to type in basement finishing. And what that brings up are just tens of thousands, literally tens of thousands of pictures of finished basements. And a whole bunch of them at that. Alright, I can bring my screen back down here now. There we go. And you can scroll through here, and if you find a picture you like, all you have to do is click on the picture, blow it up, and what I do is I right click and I'll save this image as my desktop, and I'll just create a folder of pictures that give me the style or show me the amenities that my client's thinking about, and I'll send these pictures back to them so that we can start to narrow down exactly what they want. I mean, maybe they want a fireplace, maybe they want a bar. It's all there for you to see. And if you click on the picture again, it'll take you to the actual website for the person that actually published that picture. Alright, so using the Google search, we will search for basement pictures. And this is really where it all starts, because from these pictures here, we will be able then to start to configure our floor plan. Alright, and let me blow this up just a little bit here so we can see what we're doing here. Alright, so once we have our ideas firmly planted and we know what we want, we can start to work them into our floor plan. And we'll create the floor plan 1 of 2 different ways. Actually, there's more than 2 ways, but here's the 2 major ways. You can hire a designer And to hire a designer, you'd be looking at either an architect or a contractor, a basement contractor. Both will take your money and they will design a basement floor plan for you to build from. But I believe that anyone can design their own basement. It's not a hard thing to do. And there is software out there to help you do it. All right, and I use a program called 3D Home Architecture, which is a really easy program to follow. There's several others on the market, and it doesn't have to be 3D Home Architecture. Okay, there's also another one called Home Designer. I think it's Home Designer Suite 2012 is the other one that I use. It's about a $50 item. And with that software, you can load it into your computer, follow the instructions, get the dimensions from your basement, and start to create your floor plan based on your ideas. The other way, if you don't want to do it on your computer, if you'd rather just hand draw it, you could just get a piece of graph paper and a ruler and a pen and just draw it out on graph paper and then put the dimensions on it. Alright, so the very first thing, the design stage of the basement. Alright, you need ideas and then you create your working floor plan. And all this happens before you ever put a tool belt on, before you ever drive one nail into any lumber. You are going to get ideas and then create a working floor plan to build from. Alright, the second stage, and this is probably the most exciting stage because this is where you begin to actually see some progress. This is when you go out and buy your 2x4s, a couple boxes of nails, a tape measure, a hammer, a saw, a chop box. You get all the tools and you begin the framing. And the framing's really simple to do, guys. I mean, people overcomplicate it. Yes, there is systems to framing, but it's not rocket science. And there is a certain progression to the framing phase of the basement. Alright, there is a certain way that you frame. And I'm going to run through those quick here. We'll go around the ring here. First, you'll lay it out. You'll frame your walls. You'll frame your soffits. You'll band your ceiling, and I'll explain what this stuff is. And then you will finally, if you have build-ins, you'll frame your build-ins. Alright, so let's just start with the layout. And there's an order to the layout. You always begin laying out your exterior walls, then your interior walls, then your half walls. That's the order that you'll actually put the lines on the floor and snap chalk lines and lay out your actual walls where you will be building your walls in your basement. And then when you're done with the layout, you'll begin to frame your walls. Alright, and they are in a certain order as well. You will first frame your exterior walls, then your interior walls. And if you have half walls, you'll frame them last. Then you'll move on to your soffits, and they are the skeleton of framing above your head that hides your beam and your ductwork, sometimes pipes and wires as well. Alright, it hides all that up inside a drywall ceiling. Then you'll go to banding. And banding gets you below pipes and wires out in your flat ceiling areas. And there's all kinds of wiring up there, but wire's wire, which is not really a whole lot to talk about there. Pipes, you're going to have gas pipes probably, if you have gas in your home, water pipes and drain pipes. And the banding will get you below all that, and that'll enable you to put drywall ceilings in. And finally, you'll have your build-ins, and the build-ins will be your bookcases and your entertainment walls and your niches and your shadow boxes. Alright, those are all the build-ins that you may or may not want on your job, but they are the very last thing that you'll be framing. Alright, and that is phase 2, the framing. Alright, so there is definitely an order to everything in just the framing module. Okay, in just the framing stage, there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. And if you mix these up and do them in the wrong order, you're really going to find that you're probably going to be tearing some stuff back out, because these things, certain things have to be done before other things. Alright, framing is definitely a process where one phase builds on top of the next stage, builds on top of the next stage. And if you start too far ahead into the framing system, you're going to screw the pooch. So that's it for framing. Now let's talk about the mechanical stage of your project. Alright, this is This doesn't come into play until all of the framing is done. I mean everything. You've gone back, you've double checked everything, everything's done, all nailers are in, it's 1,000% done. At this point of the game, you will start your mechanical. Alright, and the mechanical consists of 3 different areas. You have water control, you have electric, and you have plumbing. In that order. That's the order that you're going to be doing your mechanical systems. All right. The first thing that you're going to be looking for is, do I need a sump pump? You got to get it in. If you need a waterproof system, it's got to be put in. Damp proofing, it has to be put in. All right. This stuff has to be controlled before you can get to the next phases of the project, which is going to be the energy and the drywall. You want to have your water control under control before you begin your electric and your plumbing. The next phase of the project is going to be your electric. And along with electric, you got finished electric, which doesn't come to much later in the project. That's actually after drywall's finished, but I threw it in there anyway. But rough-in electric, that has to be done next. All right, and rough-in electric consists of your wiring, which is pulling all your wires through the walls for your outlets and your switches, and your boxes, all your blue boxes, your nail-on boxes, your electrical boxes. You're going to be nailing those onto the studs in the walls in preparation for the wire. All right, so it's really boxes first, wiring second in the rough-in electric stage. And finally, we got plumbing, which consists of rough-in plumbing and finished plumbing. Again, the finished plumbing, that's after drywall, that's down the road, but I put it in there just to show you that it's up and coming, but it's not yet. But that's going to consist of setting your fixtures in your bathroom if you have one, or your bar, and putting all your accessories in. Obviously, that stuff wouldn't be done until after you were finished building the basement, painting the basement, and until you're about 95% done. You're not going to be putting your finished plumbing in. But your rough-in plumbing, that's all going to be done now. All right, you're going to be putting in any gas lines to any gas fireplaces. If you're relocating a hot water heater that's a gas appliance, you'll be moving gas lines there. All of your water lines to your bar or your bathroom if you have one going in. Your waste lines that'll take all of your water away from the bathroom and the bar down through the sewage lines. And your vent lines. All right, and that's the vent lines to the bathroom and the bar so that your bathroom and your bar is vented. All right, that is the rough-in plumbing stage, all part of the mechanical. All right, once all that's in, all right, once that's 1,000% done, all except the finished plumbing and the finished electric, which we said is later in the project. But once all this other mechanical work's done, we then look to start the energy phase of the project. Now, the energy phase is our heating, our cooling, and our insulation. All right, those are all the energy parts of the puzzle there. The insulation, heating, and cooling. Now, the way that I like to do it, the heating and the cooling are pretty much the same system because most homes have a forced air system in them where the heat and the cooling are coming through the same ductwork system, and we're only putting in one system to get both. So we are roughing in our heating and our cooling. Now, heating can be central, like we just said, or it can be electric. You can put like a 220 volt electric heat system in, which are the electric baseboard registers you see along the base of the wall, and that can be controlled with a thermostat as well. Some homes don't have central air conditioning and heating. In my opinion, they shouldn't be finished. The basements should not be finished in homes that do not have moving, circulating, filtered central air conditioning and heating systems in them, because you're only asking for mold and mildew problems down the road because there's no air moving in your basement. But electric is also a nice backup system to the central air conditioning and heating system, and just in case the central heating is not coming on because it's not calling for it upstairs, you have a secondary heat system in the electric heat that you can turn on to get heat in the basement on the days when the primary system's not calling for it. And then we've got cooling, which is just going to be the central air conditioning and heating system in most homes. And once we have the heating and cooling system in, then we can go ahead and we can insulate the basement. All right, my basements, most of them are fiberglass insulation, paper faced, stapled to the 2x4 framing, and it's R13. I live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and that's code here. If you live in Montana or Quebec, Canada, your insulating R value may be different for code. So check with your local codes to make sure that you're putting the proper amount of insulation in your walls so that you pass your inspections, your energy inspections. The other part of the insulation is fire blocking. Now, it's not really insulating the wall, but I throw it in with the insulation because it's done at the same time as the insulation if it has to be done. And a lot of parts of the world require fire blocking. Others still do not require it. So check with your local municipality, your township, your city, and find out if you need fire blocking to pass your inspections. A lot of places don't require it. And really what it is a way of preventing smoke and flames from getting up through your new framing, reaching the first floor of the house. It blocks fire. It's called fire blocking. So you might want to look into that. But that's part of the energy package, and it all needs to be done during the energy phase. Alright, so once all that's done and 100%ed, we can move on to drywall, which is the next phase. And the drywall, like the other phases, has a certain progression to it. Alright, and that is, we hang the ceilings first, we hang the walls next, we tape, we apply our corner bead, then we finish, and finally we sand. Now, that's the order of a drywall job. And you can't start any one before the next if it's not in that order, because you will definitely end up screwing yourself in the long run. So let's talk about hanging the ceilings. We're going to be hanging the flat ceilings, and we're going to be hanging the bottom of the soffits. Remember, the soffits are the framing that cover the duct trunk and the beams. It's a little bit lower of a section of the ceiling. Next we have the walls, and we're going to be hanging our regular walls and our half walls. Next we have taping, and we'll be taping our inside corners, our butt joints, and our taper joints. And I'm not going to get into butt joints and taper joints here, but these are the three areas of the job that you will be applying drywall tape. Once the tape's applied, you can go ahead and apply either your metal or your paper corner bead. Different finishers like different materials. I personally like metal corner bead better than paper corner bead, but I'll have a lot of guys who say they prefer the paper. Then you'll begin the finishing, and there's 3 coats to a finished job: first, second, and third. First, second, and final coat. And once you get the final coat done, it's time to begin the final stage, which is the hand sanding and the pole sanding of all the joint compound that you put on throughout the finishing stages. And that will complete your drywall project. Alright? You want to finish your drywall until it's paint ready. Alright? Until it's paint ready. Until it's paint ready, you're not ready to move on with anything else. Next we have the painting stage. And I like to paint before the trim. Now, some contractors will trim before they paint because they're going to have a professional painting company come in as a subcontractor, and most professional painting companies prefer to paint after the trim's been installed because they're very good at cutting in the base trim, the door trim, the chair rail, the crown molding against the walls. It takes a lot of talent and a lot of time to cut in all those doors, all that base trim, all that chair rail, if you have crown molding, all that trim, and do it professional. Alright, without getting the paint back on the wall and the wall back on the trim and back and forth. So what I like to do is paint the walls and the ceilings first. Alright, well, first we'll do our prep work. First we'll prep all of our doors. We'll unpack them, we'll sand everything down, we'll sand our base trim, we'll get everything all nice and prepped up, all of our trim and doors. We'll make sure our walls are dust free from the drywall sanding, and we'll get everything all prepped up real nice so we have a nice clean work surface, a nice smooth surface to work with. And then next we're either going to roll the ceilings and the walls, or we're going to spray the ceilings and the walls. So you can see I got spray and ceilings, spray equipment and rolling walls and ceilings as B here as the second phase, because a lot of folks will not have spray equipment. You'll just have old-fashioned rollers and brushes, which is fine. It works just as well. It just takes a little longer. So after the prep work, you're going to paint your ceilings and your walls, and you're going to finish that 100%. And then what I like to do is I like to if we're going back to spraying and putting the trim before the painting, if I'm trimming before I'm painting, naturally at this point I'd go and I do my cut-in work around my doors and my windows and get all that cut-in work done. But if you're painting first before trim, what you'll do is you'll go ahead before you install your trim and doors, paint them complete. Two coats of primer, 2 coats of paint on all your doors, all your door casing, all your base trim, chair rail, crown molding, whatever trim you have. Get it all painted on sawhorses, out in the middle of the room. If it's a nice day and it's summer, outside on sawhorses, outside, and let it dry. Get all your coats on and let it dry so that it's 100% cured. Then, once that's done, you can go back in and you can proceed with number 7, the trim. All right? In the way that I'd like to teach you to do it, I want you to take the painted trim, the painted doors, and then begin the trim process. Because after you get it all installed, you can go back then and you can cut it in. All right, you can go back and you can touch up your finger marks. You can roll the walls where you got finger marks on it, because you're definitely going to get some marks on the wall, some dings, some bangs, and you're going to have fingerprints on your trim and doors because it's all painted. But it's easier to go back and touch it up and cut it in a little again than to put it all on roll and try to paint it once the trim and doors are already on. I hope that makes sense to you. All right, I'm trying to save you a ton of time, because painting and trim can really slow you down if you don't do it in this order. All right, I only recommend that professionals trim first and then paint. For the average homeowner, it's better to paint and then trim. So let's talk about the trim, because there is an order to installing the trim that needs to be adhered to, so certain pieces of trim are butting into other pieces of trim in the right order. And in order to do that, you start with your doors. It's the very first thing to go in. Now, most people don't think of doors as trim, but it is. It's part of the trim stage. So we're going to put our doors in. Our exterior doors, if we're changing exterior doors, our interior doors, we're going to get them in. All right? And we're going to get the window and door casing put on them. That's the first thing you do. Then if you have any build-ins, I like to go ahead and put my build-ins together, get them in the wall, get them trimmed out. Any entertainment walls where you might have a big screen TV in the wall, art niches with the little light, to shine on a statue, built into the wall, bookcases, stereo component racks, anything that's built into the wall. Get those in, get them done 100%, and have them all trimmed out. Then I like to go over and start on my banister railings. Okay, that's the railing that's coming down the stairs from the first floor, and if you have a newel post and a handrail with spindles at the base of the steps, all that gingerbread, all that stuff that goes to the banister, get all that done 100% next. And then the windows, you can go ahead and case those out, and they're real simple to do. Probably the easiest thing to trim is the windows. And then after you get the windows done, now you can run crown molding and chair rail if you have it. Okay, a lot of folks just aren't going to bother with crown mold and chair rail. That's definitely an upgrade, and you don't have to have it, but I got to tell you, it sure looks nice once it's in. But you don't want to put the chair rail and the crown in until you have all these other areas finished. And the last thing that you do is the base trim. And the reason the base trim's the last thing is because the base trim runs into everything. It runs into the side of the doors, because that door casing goes all the way down to the floor. It runs into the banister rail trim that you do, because that runs all the way down to the floor. There's a lot of trim that has to be done prior to the base trim, and then once the base trim's put in, basically your trim job is finished. Alright, so that takes care of the painting and the trim, and again, you can flip-flop those back. You can do trim first and then painting, but I recommend painting first and then trim. It makes it so much easier. Once you got those two phases done, it's on to accessories, which is really kind of easy. This is when you're really finishing out the job here. You got door hardware, you got things like door stops and doorknobs, and if you got a pocket door or whatnot, you'd put the pocket door latches and hardware in. Built-in hardware for your bookcases and your stereo racks and whatnot. You'll have adjustable rods and clips and things of that nature, so that you can move the shelves up and down. And in your closets, you'll either have your wooden or your rubberized metal shelving, rubberized like the Closet Made brand, and there's several others. You'll get your closet shelving in. And that'll complete all of your accessories. And really at this point, your job should be 99.9% finished. Should be very little left to do, other than the flooring. Now, I always save the flooring for last, and the reason is flooring is something that can get ruined while you're still working on all the other phases. You just don't want it in there until you have to put it in. And I like to put it in very last. Alright? And with the flooring, we've got tile, vinyl, synthetic, and carpet. And those are the order that I'd put them in if I had them all. Okay? Tile first, because it's the messiest. Then my vinyl sheet goods. And then my synthetic, which was the synthetic flooring is like Pergo. It looks like wood, but it's not. A synthetic material. And there's a lot of other ones. And the very last thing is the carpet. Carpet is dead last. That's like we roll out the red carpet when the job's done. It's time to move in, put the furniture in there, and turn the TV on. The carpet is the very last thing. Now with the vinyl, you can have sheet goods, which is you can buy a roll of vinyl and just cut one big sheet in. And they also have the press down squares that you can buy to tile your bathroom or the entryway when you come in the door or whatnot. I prefer, if I'm going to do vinyl, which I personally cannot stand, but if I had a choice, I definitely would use a good sheet good before I'd use any of those press down squares. I really don't like those. The synthetic stuff, like again, I said that would be like a Pergo, give you that wood look. And there's several other manufacturers other than Pergo that make the wood look synthetic flooring. Never put hardwood in your basement. It does not like a humid environment. Floors are not level. They roll. They're up and down. A hardwood floor needs to be put on a wooden subfloor, and the floor needs to be perfectly level. And you just don't have that in the basement. All right, so let's zoom out on that once and take a look at this monstrosity. And you stand back and you look at that, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. And there's a lot of different main phases of the job, and then within each main phase there's a bunch of smaller things that require a chronological order as well. And my training, I've been training folks to finish basements for the last 5 years or so. And this is the order that the folks that have had the most success have followed. All right, this is the way that I teach you how to do it. And like I said, I do this for a reason. Every single thing we do as contractors in the basement is done for a reason. Your full-time basement remodelers are doing everything for a reason. And we've made a bunch of mistakes throughout our careers, all of us. And I know a lot of guys in the business. We talk, and we've all made a lot of mistakes. And you know, we're in the business of making money in a timely fashion, in a timely manner. So we're looking for the most professional way, the best way to do things in the least amount of time to produce the best product. And what I just showed you here today in the Basement Finishing Mind Map is the ultimate way to do it. This is the way that it should be done. So I hope that you enjoy this little presentation. I hope that it opened your eyes to all the intricacies of a basement finishing project. And there might be more going on here than you ever imagined there was. And maybe not. But I find that most folks, when they see this for the first time, are amazed at all the little things that you have to think about when you're finishing your basement. So thanks for watching. We've got some more videos coming your way over the next 2 days, and I'll be getting those out to you in about a day or two, and I will talk to you then. Take care.